So yes, now is I think the slightly difficult level, but yeah, if you guys are able to understand this slide, I'm sure you have covered 70% of this topic, graphs. Okay, and this is the homework. See how do we plot these graphs, and everyone has to be very attentive because this is the crux of graph. If you did not understand this, it's going to be a problem for you. Y is equals to log mod of x. I think we have already covered log mod of x, right? How do we plot that graph? We all know that the graph of log x is something like this, right? This is the graph of log x equals to 1. And because it is log mod x, this is an even function. So graph has to be symmetric about y-axis. So whatever is the value of graph at positive x, the value will just repeat in the negative x. So I will just draw this. And this is the graph of log mod x. Fair. Now, second thing is, so this is log mod x. Second is mod of log x. So this is the graph of log x. Now this is mod log x. Mod का क्या होता है? जो भी negative values है आपको उसको positive करना है because graph has to be positive. So you just have to take mirror image of this part across x-axis and you have to make it positive. So it's going to be something like this, right? This part will just go away, and this is how the graph of mod log x will look like. Is this clear to everyone? Idea is whatever is the negative part, you just take its mirror image about x-axis. Why? Because it has to be above x-axis because it is modulus. So this has to be always positive. Then mod of log of mod x. Okay. So how do we do this? See, it has to be plotted in a step-by-step manner. पहले हम log x plot करेंगे, then we will plot log mod x, and then we will reach to mod of mod x, right? These are the three steps that we will follow. So this is log x, then log mod x is nothing but this, right? We have already seen it. Then modulus of this entire thing is nothing but इन दोनों का mirror image. जो negative part है वो ऊपर आ जाएगा. This is how it will look like. This will go away. And this will be the graph of log of mod x. It was slightly advanced and tricky, but this is how the graph will look like. Okay. Next is log of minus x. So it is nothing. This is the graph of log x, right? This is x equals to 1. So log of minus x is nothing but its mirror image across y-axis, right? Why? See, how do we check it? पहले x equals to 1 पे पहले log x में when x is 1 it was 0, but now when x is minus 1 it will be 0, right? Because it is minus x. So you will just take its mirror image across y-axis, and this is how the graph of log of minus x will look like. ये नहीं आएगा. It is only the negative part of it. Okay, so this is how the graph of log of minus x looks like. Then we have minus log x. So this was the graph of log x. It is minus log x, right? So minus log x का क्या मतलब हुआ? आपको ग्राफ को सिर्फ x एक्सिस के अराउंड चेंज करना है, राइट? सो पहले जब x इंफिनिटी था, अब वैल्यू माइनस इंफिनिटी हो जाएगी. पहले जहां x माइनस इंफिनिटी था, इट विल बी प्लस इंफिनिटी. सो दिस इज हाउ द ग्राफ ऑफ log minus log x look like. Clear? When x is 1, it is 0. When x is less than 1, this will be negative. Minus into minus will be positive, and hence graph will be positive. And when x is greater than 1, this is positive. Multiplied with negative sign will be negative. So this is how the graph of minus log x looks like. So we have covered all the variations of log. Now we just have to take all the variations of e to the power mod x as well. Graph will not change if you interchange the order. For example, I think you meant you can choose to say log x, then mod log x, and then mod log of mod x. It will not change. It has to remain the same. Correct. So now e to the power mod x. This is really tricky. See, this is the graph of e to the power x. Everyone, please pay attention. It is a very important graph, and many students would have made a mistake here, I'm very sure. So see, what is e to the power mod x? I'm writing this for now, but I will not write it in the future. It is e to the power x if x is positive, and it is e to the power minus x if x is negative, right? Okay? Which means, or what we can say is, see, e to the power mod x is, this is nothing but a graph that is symmetric about y-axis because it is an even function. So I just plot the graph of e to the power x for positive x, and then I just take its mirror image. That is a shorter way. So what do? We just take the positive value and then we sort of take its mirror image across y-axis. So this is how the graph of e to the power mod x looks like. When x is 0, it is 1. When x is infinity, it is infinity. When x is minus infinity, it is infinity. And then it is an exact mirror image across y-axis. This is e to the power mod x. Next was mod of e to the power x. So mod में क्या करते हैं अपन? जो भी नेगेटिव पार्ट होता है उसको हम ऊपर शिफ्ट कर देते हैं एक्स एक्सिस के ऊपर, राइट? बट बिकॉज यहाँ पे तो कोई नेगेटिव पार्ट ही नहीं है, बिकॉज e to the power x is always positive. So this is same as e to the power x. So the graph remains exactly same. There will be no change whatsoever. ठीक है? Next was mod of e to the power mod x. ठीक है? So we have already plotted the graph. This was the graph of e to the power mod x, right? Its modulus will remain same because see, e to the power mod x is always positive. So this is same as saying e to the power mod x, and hence the graph remains exactly same like this. There will be no change. Now, last two graphs, which are slightly trickier. E to the power minus x. Again, my base graph will be same. This is e to the power x. I just have to change the values and nothing else, right? So when x was negative, see, e to the power minus x is nothing but taking the mirror image of this graph across y-axis, because correct, because e to the power minus x, one thing is it is always positive. When x is infinity, this graph goes to 0. When x is minus infinity, this is e to the power plus infinity, so it will tend to 0, infinity, right? So when x is infinity, it has to tend to 0. When x is minus infinity, it has to tend to plus infinity. So this is how the graph of e to the power minus x looks like. It is an exact mirror image of e to the power x across y-axis because you just had to change the value of x, nothing else. So this is the graph of e to the power minus x, right? And last was e to the power minus mod x. Okay? So again, you will make cases. E to the power minus mod x is nothing but e to the power minus x when x is positive, and then I just take its mirror image. Okay? Because it's an even function, and when x is positive, let me change the color here. Yes. So again, this is an even function. So when x is positive, see, whenever you have to plot a graph of any even function, always only plot the graph for x greater than 0 and then take its mirror image. So when x is 0, it is nothing but e to the power minus x. So this is the graph of e to the power minus x, and when x is positive, this will be the graph, right? It will not meet the x-axis, but yeah, this is how the graph looks like for e to the power minus x when x is positive. So you just have to take its mirror image for negative part as well. And this is how the graph of e to the power minus mod x looks like. I think we have covered 70% of the syllabus of graphs. It was shifting graphs and it was taking mirror images and then playing around with it. And now in next 5-10 slides, we are just going to practice whatever we have learned. So if it's clear, everyone should be able to solve these questions now. So moving further, yeah, these are the answers for your reference. All the graphs. Okay, anyways, we have discussed them. So yeah, let's start with this. I'll give you 2 minutes. In fact, I think you can solve it in less than 1 minute now. And I think most of these questions were already a part of your remedial sessions if you've watched it. So it's repetition of that. And at the end or in between, whenever there's a need to give shortcuts, I'll keep on giving shortcuts. So let's see. I'm sure you all would have solved it using shifting method, right? But now I'm just going to explain you some shortcuts or some visualization that will help you reduce the time. So first thing that I always do is visualize the question, because it is a modulus, right? So if it is a modulus, first of all, I have to check whether this graph is always positive or negative. So see mod of x minus 1, ठीक है. Then it is mod of x minus 1 plus 2. Sorry, mod of x minus 1 plus 2. And इस पे पूरे पे mod, right? I know for the fact कि because it's a modulus, it has to be always greater than 0. And if I add plus 2 to this number is always positive, no matter what. So I can simply remove ये वाला modulus. It is redundant. So this is nothing but modulus of mod x minus 1 plus 2 minus 3 is nothing but minus 1 का पूरा modulus. Now I cannot remove this modulus, of course, because it is minus 1. So graph नीचे आ जाएगा. Right? So I've simplified this graph. And now it is nothing but सबसे पहले base graph is x minus 1. Sorry, base graph is x minus 1 and then उसका modulus. So y equals to x is this, right? Y equals to x minus 1 will be this. ठीक है, this is 1, this is 1. Y equals to x minus 1 will be this. Then y equals to mod of x minus 1 will be this, right? This is how the graph of y equals to mod of x minus 1 looks like. I will just translate all these negative things to positive. This will be 1. Then I have to take mod of x minus 1 minus 1. So I have to shift this graph down by 1 unit. So this will come here, 1. This will also shift down because slope is 1. So ये 1 वाला point 0 पे आ जाएगा, right? And this is how the graph looks like. It is how it will look like. I know ये मैंने 1 unit shift किया है, तो ये 1 unit यहाँ shift होगा, 1 unit यहाँ shift होगा. This was 1. So this has to be 1 plus 1, 2. This has to be 1 minus 1, 0. Now, last step is I just have to take its modulus, right? I plotted this graph. Now I just have to take its modulus. So taking the modulus basically means whatever is positive will remain positive. Whatever is negative, I will just take its mirror image. So this is how the graph looks like. This was minus 1. So this now will become plus 1. And this is the final graph of, it's going to be W shaped. And this is the final graph of the question. Okay, now. So you've understood which part? Mod x minus 1 was clear. Minus 1 was also clear, shifting it down. Then taking the modulus was clear. जो भी negative part है, you will just take its mirror image across x-axis. This is y equals to x. So if you have to plot y equals to mod x, whatever is the negative part, you will just take its mirror image, right? So similarly, this was the graph of y equals to mod of x minus 1 minus 1. If you have to take इस पूरे का modulus, जो भी negative part है, you will just take its mirror image. So let's move on. Please draw this graph. Yeah, it is multiplication. Mod of x minus 1 into mod of x minus 3. See guys, the only catch here was if you get into the trap of plotting this graph and this graph, you of course, see, you don't know how do you multiply two graphs, right? That is random. No one can tell you that how do you multiply two graphs. It is very complex. You don't know, right? But you of course know that mod A into mod B is nothing but mod of AB. Do you know this guys or not? Mod A into mod B is nothing but mod AB. So this is nothing but modulus of x minus 1 into x minus 3. Now this question is very clear. You know the graph of x minus 1 into x minus 3, right? It is nothing but a quadratic equation whose roots are x equals to 1 and x equals to 3 are the roots. So this is how the graph of x minus 1 into x minus 3 looks like, right? So now it is modulus of this. So graph will be, you just take its mirror image. This will be the final graph. When x is 0, it is minus 1 into minus 3 plus 3 ka modulus will be 3. So this value is 3. It was a 10-second question. So moving further, please plot this graphs. Again, it is same as what I've explained to you while plotting that e to the power x variations and log x variations. So I hope to see everyone doing this. I'll reveal the answers now. First is nothing but fx is equals to 1 by x. This is y equals to 1 by x or xy equals to 1. Xy equals to constant is the graph of a hyperbola. If you know it, I think I've mentioned it earlier in functions as well. This is how the graph looks like in both first and third quadrant, right? this is xy equals to 1. It basically means when x is positive, y is positive, and x is negative, y is negative. Plus, it's an odd function, y equals to 1 by x. It's an odd function, right? So it has to be a mirror image across origin. So yes, this graph is a mirror image across origin. So yeah, this is the graph of y equals to 1 by x. Next is y is equals to minus 1 by x, right? So minus 1 by x is nothing but taking the graph's mirror image across y-axis. I'll change the color. So graph will be this entire graph. If you take its mirror image, if you take its mirror image across y-axis, it will be nothing but this. And if you take its mirror image across y-axis, it will be nothing but this. So this is how the graph of y equals to minus 1 by x looks like. It will be in second quadrant and fourth quadrant. Third was fx equals to 1 by mod x, right? What is this graph? You have already plotted 1 by x, which was red marked. So this is nothing but its modulus. Modulus में क्या होता है? जो भी negative part है, it has to be shifted up, right? So the graph will be something like this, first and second quadrant. This is 1 by x modulus. Clear, everyone? Can we say second function is an inverse function? Absolutely not. Who was asking this? Acha. Bhavesh, no. Inverse function तो same ही है, right? क्या मेथड होता है y equals to 1 by x का inverse function? Replace x in terms of y, x equals to 1 by y, and then interchange y equals to 1 by x. So inverse function of y equals to 1 by x is y equals to 1 by x only. Plus you have to take mirror image across y equals to x. So if you take the mirror image of this graph across y equals to x, it's going to remain same because this part is mirror image of this and this part is mirror image of this. So it's going to remain same. Nothing will change. Okay? I think we have covered a lot of graphs, and if you guys understood it, I think your graph should be pretty sorted now. So let's see how many of you can draw this. It's a reality check basis how much have you understood. See guys, if you see, this is f of something, right? It is shown to you. You have to actually plot f of 4 minus x. So if you can visualize, 4 minus x is nothing but minus of x minus 4, right? So if some graph is given to you, you have to actually take its mirror image about y-axis, right? Because I have already mentioned कि अगर fx given रहता है and if you have to plot f of minus x, what do? You just take its mirror image, right, across y-axis. X की जगह minus x डालना है. So if it is f of x minus 4 and if you have to plot f of 4 minus x, you just take its mirror image across y-axis. So graph is going to look something like this. If you take its mirror image, जो plus 4 पे value आ रहा है वो minus 4 पे आएगा. It's going to be like this. This is how the graph will look like. ठीक है? And this is minus 3 and this is minus 5. This is method 1. Alternatively, अगर इसको shifting से करना है, what do? This is f of x minus 4. You first of all plot f of x. F of x minus 4 से अगर fx plot करना है तो क्या करना है? You have to shift this graph left, right? Because you have to essentially add plus 4 here. So you will shift this graph left and this is how the graph will look like. This is f of x. If this is f of x, आना क्या है तुमको f of 4 minus x. So from f of x, you will derive f of minus x. It's going to remain same because f of minus x is nothing but the mirror image across y-axis and it's already a symmetrical graph. So it will remain like this only. Then you plot f of minus x plus 4. So if you are adding plus 4, you have to shift the graph towards left hand side. So again, the graph will be shifted left and it will be something like this. And the value will be minus. So it is same as this graph. So you have both the methods. You can use whatever method you can. We have covered basic graphs wala part. Next concept is about growth rate. Its application we will slightly cover. Growth rate का क्या मतलब होता है कि कौन जल्दी increase करेगा, right? Growth rate is basically delta y by delta x, the slope. So which graph is actually going to increase at a faster phase? इसका application is very important for questions जहाँ पे बहुत silly mistake होता है. So अभी के लिए everyone note it down in your notebook. सबसे fastest polynomial is factorial. You know 1 factorial is 1, 2 factorial is 2, 3 factorial 2 से 6 हो गया, ठीक है, 4 factorial is 24, फिर 120, 720, etc. etc. Right? So n factorial is the fastest polynomial. After n factorial, you have exponential. Exponential can be c to the power n, it can be 2 to the power n, 3 to the power n, 9 to the power n, e to the power n, anything. Right? So it is exponential function. Then comes a polynomial function. Polynomial क्या होता है? N to the power c, which is x cube, x square, x to the power 4. These are polynomial functions. ठीक है? Then comes n cube, n square, then n log n, then n के बाद होता है log n, right? Because log n का slope is 1 by n, and n का slope is 1. So of course 1 is greater than 1 by n. Hence n का growth rate is greater than log n, and then comes 1. 1 is basically constant function, जिसका slope is 0. So just note it down. Its application we will see subsequently. Okay? So now try these questions. And this is where you will have to apply what I've just told you. You have to find the number of points of intersection between these two graphs. For those who have not written, please write it fast. Factorial, exponential, then polynomial. These are the important numbers to remember. And guys, I think there was some questions. So whatever advanced session that I take, guys, you do not have to watch its remedial session, because I typically cover everything that is there in the remedial as well in the advanced workshop. So you can skip the remedials of graphs for functions, for equations that I've already covered. Options are 1, 2, 3, 4. Answer is not 1, answer is not 2, answer is 3, it is not 4 as well. Let's see. And this is where that growth rate wala concept comes into picture. Say this is nothing but x plus 3 into x plus 1, right? So whenever you have to talk about point of intersection of graphs, all you have to do is plot both the graphs, right? So let's plot both the graphs. E to the power x is this. Okay. Then second graph is, let me change the color. Second graph is this polynomial graph, right? X plus 3 into x plus 1. So roots are minus 3 and minus 1, right? So this is how the graph looks like. Is everyone clear? When x is 0, this is 1. When x is 0, this is 3. So yes, this is 3. So I think most of you have mentioned 2, because pehla point ye raha and second point is this. But this is where the catch comes into picture. Everyone, Chaitanya, you should have gotten this correct. Divya and all the guys who have gotten it wrong. This is a polynomial function, right? This is a quadratic function. This is an exponential function, right? So can you guys imagine that jaise we are going to increase the value of x, this graph will increase at a faster pace, and ye graph धीरे चलेगा, and कहीं infinity पे जाके e to the power x is actually going to cut it and then be on the top. And that is where the third point of intersection will lie, because exponential function है, so it's going to increase at a very, very, very fast pace, right? तो ये यहाँ से ग्राफ ऐसे ऐसे चलेगा, and जो quadratic function है वो slow चलेगा, right? It's going to work at this pace only, and कहीं पे at some far away value of x, this is going to intersect. Is this clear? A question which I believe 99% of the students, even in CAT exam, will make a mistake. Anyone who is not clear with this? Yeah, Zafar. So what I've done is I've used the concept that exponential functions are actually the functions which are increasing at a very faster pace, right? In the last slide I've mentioned, exponential is very, very fast. You can also say, see, at 0, this is 1, exponential is at 1, and this function is at 3. At x equals to 1, this will be 2.77, right? E. And this will be what? At x equals to 1, it is 4 plus 3, 7 plus 1, 8. This is 8. But at x equals to 2, this is 2.77 square. And this will be x equals to 2, this is 3 into 5, 15. This is 15. And this will be somewhere close to 8 or 9. So my point is, this exponential function is going to rise at a very faster phase and will actually intersect and overtake this a polynomial function at some value. I don't know that value. We don't have to calculate it, but it will at least at some, say x equals to 10 lakh, e to the power x will be above this function, and hence there has to be one intersection point at some farthest value. So दो तो already हो गए थे. That is the third point. In total, there will be 3 intersection points. fx equals to gx से नहीं कर पाओगे वो polynomy, because these are different functions, so you will never be able to do it in that manner. If you intersect this, see, you will have to identify the solution, and that is what I was saying. You will never be able to find the solutions for these two equations. वो कभी मिलेंगे नहीं तुमको. And hence, always solve these questions using graphs to avoid mistake. Clear, everyone? आगे बढ़े. Now we will use this concept. We will solve more questions so that you all are master of this. So now this is a test for everyone. Apply the exact same concept. Draw the graphs. Try to visualize the intersection points. I'll give you 2 minutes for both of these questions. You don't have to write it in your notebook. Just directly plot the graphs and solve it. Let's see. Answers are 2 and 0. Let's see how do we do it. What is this? This is nothing but minus of x plus 3 into x plus 1, right? Minus of x plus 3 into x plus 1. So how do we plot the graph? X equals to minus 1 and x equals to minus 3 and minus 1. This would have been the graph of x plus 3 into x plus 1, but because it's a minus sign, this is how the graph will look like, right? And x is 0. This has to be minus 3. That's the graph. Then e to the power x. And I know minima kahan pe hoga? Minima will be at x equals to minus 2, right? Somewhere like this. And at minus 2, it will be minus 2 plus 1 minus 1. And 1 into minus 1 is minus 1. And okay, this value is going to be 1. And e to the power x will be something like this. I know when x is 0, then this value is going to be 1, right? It will be somewhere like this. So it is going to intersect the graph at 2 different pieces, and hence the answer for first has to be 2 and not 1. For all the students who have drawn the graph like this, guys, you have to check the value. कि यहाँ पे maximum value will be nothing but 1, and this value has to be less than 1, because जब x 0 होगा तब ये value 1 आएगी, so this value has to be less than 1, and hence it will intersect at 2 places. This is nothing but I'll take minus common, so it is x squared plus 4x plus 3, which is nothing but minus, this is x plus 3 into x plus 1, so your roots will be minus 1 and minus 3. ठीक है. Second क्या given है? X square plus 2x plus 10. I will write this as x plus 1 whole square, x square plus 2x plus 1 plus 9. This is the graph, and then gx equals to x. So I will just plot the graph. This is y equals to x, and then x plus 1 whole square. This is x square, right? This is x square. So x plus 1 whole square is shifting it left. This is x plus 1 whole square, right? And then plus 9. So plus 9 will be somewhere like this. And I know this is a square function, right? This is a quadratic function. It is going to increase at a faster pace than a linear function. So these two will never ever intersect. So solutions have to be 0. Answers are 2, 0. You can go with any of the approach, but checking for the intersection point will take time and might not work always. So for example, if you try in first question, you will not be able to find any intersection point. It's going to be very, very difficult to find intersection point. So always do it by graph. Unless these are similar sort of functions. So for example, you have both the functions as quadratic, then yes, it makes sense to equate them and solve them, because then it is much easier. So please solve this. So yeah, please solve this. You have to draw the graph of mod of x square plus 4 mod x plus minus 21 का whole modulus. Remember the basic stuff. सारे modulus हटा दो. Simplify the equation. That is the basic function, and then keep on applying modulus. Let's see. इतना time आप लगना नहीं चाहिए. See, इसका basic function क्या है? It is x square plus 4x minus 21, right? Which is what? 7 into 3, 7 minus 3. So it is 4, so it has to be 7, x plus 7 into x minus 3, right? And then this is the raw function. Okay? Then you have to replace x with mod x and then take the overall modulus. So first of all, let's plot the graph of x plus 7 into x minus 3. Roots are minus 7 and plus 3. So this is how the graph looks like. Okay? Because what we have to finally plot is nothing but, if you simplify this, this is nothing but x square go, see, I can also write mod x square plus 4 mod x minus 21, right? अभी हमने plot किया है x square plus 4x minus 21 is what we have plotted. Next step is to replace x by mod x. How do we do it? Replacing x by mod x is what? Mod x is equals to x when x is positive, and because it's an even function, so whatever is the value of positive x will just translate to the negative value as well. So if this is the graph, if we have to replace x by mod x here, the graph will remain same for positive values of x, and for negative, it is just going to be the mirror image of this particular part, right? So graph will be something like this. This is plus 3, so it has to cut at minus 3. So this is how the graph, this will go away because I only have to take positive wala part. So this is the graph of mod x square plus 4 mod x minus 21. Now you have to take overall modulus. So these negative value will just go away and then it will be like this. When x is 0, its value will be plus 21. So this is 21. So yeah, it's the repetition of the concept that we have been doing. Final graph will be like this. This, then this, and then this. Anyone has doubts? You can ask me now.
Sir, the minus 3, can you repeat that one? How did you?
Just a minute. Which one? Minus 3?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. See. Okay, let me try to explain this again. This was the graph, right? Earlier, this was x square plus 4x minus 21. Second step was mod x square plus 4 mod x minus 21, right? Because that is what you have to find. X square is same as mod x whole square. So you just have to replace x with minus x with mod x. So we have drawn the graphs of e to the power x to e to the power mod x, right? So when you have to replace x by mod x, what do? We just say that the graph will remain exactly same when x is positive, and jab x negative hoga, it will be the mirror image of the positive part. So that is what I have done. For the positive part, this is what the graph goes. It remains same. For the negative part, wala value will just go away and will take the mirror image of this positive value for the negative part of x-axis. So this is how the graph will look like for this. And then it is just the mirror image. Is this clear?
Actually, yeah, just the, I'm still thinking, you mean that the 3 here is just replicated there and then again the mirror image is taken.
Correct.
Okay, got it.
So again, we have taken the mirror image because of this wala modulus, this modulus.
Okay.
Or if you have to simplify this, you can also write this as mod x plus 7 into mod x minus 3. The whole modulus. This is what is written here, right? X square is same as mod x square plus 4 mod x minus 21. It's a quadratic equation in mod x. This is the value. And if you have to take its root, roots kya honge? Ya to mod x plus 7 will be 0 or mod x minus 3 will be 0. Mod x plus 7 cannot be 0. So it has to be x equals to plus minus 3.
Yeah.
So Shivam, I will be discussing this question with you. You should be able to solve this. And everyone else. It's a chocolate problem. Let's see who can solve this. Shivam, please explain.
So we'll just shift the mod x cube to the other side and then we'll proceed with what we have been doing so far. So
Not audible.
graph of, is it?
Yeah. How would graphs look like?
So e to the power of x.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's e to the power of x, and then x cube will go. X cube is symmetrical around at origin. So
You're not very audible, but yeah.
I'm not sure what's wrong.
Yeah. So see, mod x cube, it has to be, it is always positive, right? Then this was the graph of x cube, right? This was the graph of x cube. We had to plot the graph of mod x cube. So what do? We'll just take the mirror image of the negative part and we'll take it, top it over to the x-axis. So somewhere like this, it will look like this is modulus of x cube, right? So we have one intersection point here for sure. Now comes the major thing. And that is where you'll have to check for the values. See, when x is 0, this is 0 and this is 1, right? When x is 1, this is e to the power 1, so 2.77 something. And this is 1 cube, so it's 1. When x is 2, what is this? This is mod x cube, right? So when x is 2, see, you have already figured that there is one solution in the negative x-axis. Now we are only talking about positive x-axis. So when x is 2, this is 2 cube, so it's 8. But when x is 2, this is what? 2.77 whole square. Right? Somewhat 2.77 whole square. It can be above it, it can be lower than it. Anyways, let's take x equals to 3. When x is 3, this is clearly 3 cube, right? But the above function is what? Above function is e cube. E cube is what? 2.77 cube. Now we are very clear that e cube is less than 3 cube, right? So we know that at least at x equals to 3, ye wala value should be here, right? So this graph should have been something like this. It has to intersect somewhere between 2 and 3, so that the graph at x equals to 3 looks like this, because at x equals to 3, the value of x cube is higher than the value of e to the power x, which is why it should look like this. So we will have a second point of intersection somewhere between 2 to 3. Is everyone clear? Because I'm not going to repeat, it's a long thing. So that is how it will look like. But we eventually know that e to the power x ka, growth rate is very, very higher than x cube. So at least at some value of x tending to infinity, e to the power x will again overtake, right? Because it is actually an exponential function. So this is how e to the power x is going. And then finally at some value, it is going to again cut this. So again, at a very higher value of x, there will be third intersection point. So in total, we have 3 intersection points. It's going to be a very common mistake. Options will be 1, 2, 3, 4. Many of the students will mark 1, many will mark 2. But the answer is 3. For the sake, actually, my graph will look something like this. If I have to plot the graph now, because I have analyzed the value, this is how the graph should look like. This is e to the power x, and mod x cube will be this is how it should look like. It will be somewhere between, this will be 2 and this will be 3. How's the point of intersection 2 and 3? Can you please explain again? Okay, Himang, see at x equals to 2, you just compare the values. This is e to the power x, this is mod x cube, this is x equals to 2, this is x equals to 3. At x equals to 2, this is e square, this is 2 cube. At x equals to 3, this is e cube, this is 3 cube. I know this value is greater than this at x equals to 3. But at x equals to 2, you can check, right? 2.77, or say, I'm not sure whether 2.77 square kitna hota hai. Can someone solve this? We don't know, but still, yes, this is 2.77, this is 8. What? See, we did not have to get into all of it. You could have taken x equals to 1. This would have been e, and then this would have been 1, right? So e was above 1. So I know for the fact that between 1 and 3, there has to be one root. 2 wala check kar lena, 2.77 square nikal ke, not a big deal. 2.7 square is nothing but 729. So 7.29 is 2.7 square. फिर 2.77 निकाल लेना. 2.8 कितना होता है उसके हिसाब से. But it's not needed in CAT. right? That was the intention.